This video is about assembling and visualizing your autocrittography, the final course project in your writer contribution segment. We're going to look at this in 4 components: memory in the brain, I hate the name Kenneth, wildcard quilt, and revise, select, arrange. Autocrittographical writing draws upon episodic memories. Take a moment to consider how many parts of the brain are involved in episodic memory. These are either MRI or MRA scans. I can no longer remember which from the study that I read years ago, but either way, these images show which areas of one's brain are firing or lighting up when one remembers a past event, episodic memory, and when one contemplates a possible future event, prediction or fiction making. What do you notice? Among other things, look at the overlap here. Remembering the past and predicting the future fire in similar sections of the brain. There are overlaps between these two functionings. Why is this important? I'm not a cognitive psychologist, but what interests me as a writer is that when I'm writing autocrittography in particular, I'm both remembering the past and contemplating the past's relevance in the present and future readings of a text. There are connections between the processes involved in both of these endeavors, which are connected by the genre blending in autocrittography in the functioning of my brain. Those connections are important to me as a writer because they inform my narrative decisions or the way in which I might select and arrange memories to support a critical reading of a text. In the video that you watched before this one, I Hate the Name Kenneth, you met contemporary artist Ken Aptekar and his work. Take a minute to look at this image from the video of the sandblasted text on the top of Aptekar's paintings, which copy original portraits. I first learned about his work and its significance to my scholarly interest through theorist Mike Ball. Ball's a feminist narratologist who writes about her visits to Aptekar's exhibits. I read the text, Ball observes, even though my reading was constantly interrupted by the painting that was looking back at me, nagging that I ought to look at it first. What do you notice about your own negotiations between text and image in Aptekar's work? How do these elements work together to articulate a collective narrative vision, one that encompasses all of the portraits, images, and words? In her introduction to Wildcard Quilt, Ray writes, "The stories are examinations of personal, family, and community history. They are observations of rural living, accounts of my efforts to find society, and essays about the landscape around me. Only by inspecting each piece could I come to a conclusion about whether my life belonged there." Open up your copy of the book to the table of contents. Think about each piece that she includes in the memoir. What do you notice about Ray's arrangement by just looking at the chapter titles? I suspect that she did not write each chapter sequentially, but that she put the chapters together near the end of the project as her sense of holistic significance became clear. So, how do these theories and metaphors work in practice? To prepare for your autocrittography-based course project, begin by reviewing instructor and peer feedback on all your previous drafts. That should be available to you in Blackboard. Apply that feedback to your revisions of your drafts. Look for patterns of strength and challenges. Address both in your revision process and give yourself sufficient time to do this. Using a teacher-scholar hat, think of it as a portfolio-like second chance to look at your work and to reflect on the experience holistically. Remember those patterns? What kinds of recurring themes or insights do you notice overall in your work? This will help you in the selection process. Write those categories down and select examples from your essays that fit within those categories. You will not be able to include all of your essays or even large portions of all of your essays in this final project, since the entire project's word count will be approximately 1,200 words. Instead, select segments from each essay or from several essays carefully and with a clear purpose so that you make every word count. Finally, you are going to arrange. So here's another story. Several years ago, I had the opportunity to ask poet Tom Slay about his selection and organization of war-torn Lebanon poems for his then recently published book called Army Cats. He responded that a writer might think about it in relation to 4 simple geometric shapes. Is your book a line, a circle, a spiral, a vortex? Whatever those concepts mean to you is sufficient. I went home because I was trying to arrange a group of poems that I had written, and I wanted to figure out what shape they made. I printed them out. I spread out the copies onto the floor and began to look at them, to think about their collective shape. For me, in this instance, it was an hourglass with a focus poem, the one that best conveyed my collective meaning, at the center of the arrangement. If I were to go back and do this exercise now and organize the same group of poems all these years later, I would probably arrange them differently. This is part of the episodic memory process. You may choose to select and arrange text by printing out your essays like I did, or by cutting sections apart, which I've done before, which is very helpful as well, and arranging them on a table like a puzzle. You may create an outline in a Word doc and cut and paste segments under those headings. However you go about it, though, spend time to think about it carefully and purposefully. What overarching meaning do you wish to convey about your autocritigraphical essay segments to your class colleagues and instructor? Before you answer this question completely, though, I'd like you to do one more exercise to prepare. Go on a field trip. Instructions for the narrative arrangement field trip are in this week's module. I look forward to learning about your experience in your report.